Mississippi Municipal League, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our press conference today. We're here on this very important day, deadline day, to talk about a piece of legislation that's very important to us, the Citizens for Economic Development Act, which we are passionate about. And at this time, I'd like to introduce our hardworking legislative chairman, the Mayor of Corinth, Mayor Tommy Irwin.
Today is the revenue bill deadline, and we're asking House Ways and Means Chairman Jeff Smith and Senate Finance Chair Joe Fillingane to pass CEDA out of their committees. Today we want to remind these gentlemen of an important fact. 156 of our 290 member cities have passed a resolution of support for the local sales tax option. Together, these cities represent over 1 million who want the right to control the destiny of their city where they have chosen to live, work, play, raise their children, and also retire. Local citizens know what they need in their city and what they are willing to tax themselves, not folks at the Capitol. Local government is the government closest to the people. Our mayors, boards, and council hear from their local citizens on a daily basis about improvements the city's citizens want in their cities. CEDA would give us the right to take projects to our voters, and 60% of those voters would have to say yes to an up to 1% sales tax increase. Once the project is paid for, the tax ends. How can the leadership at the Capitol continue to stand in the way of this fiscally responsible way to improve our cities and towns and ultimately improve our state? Please pass CEDA today. Give our citizens the same opportunity to vote for improvements as the city of Jackson had back in January the 14th. 90% of the voters said yes to a better city. We all want that opportunity. Better cities mean a better state. Thank you. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Mayor Alton Shaw of Wesson.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all coming and letting us talk about this today. You know, when I took over as mayor a little over 10 years ago, we could pave a mile of road for about $20,000, $30,000. That's almost quadruple. The pipe we buy, the expenses have more than doubled, and revenue has definitely not gone up. And there's bills now coming through the legislature that will cut sales tax that will adversely affect some of our municipalities. And we need other options. And once again, we're not asking for options for us to make the decision, but for the citizens to vote and make their own decision. What I find is almost, I would say, bordering on hypocritical, is our leadership constantly says to Washington, I think rightfully so, stop telling us how to run the state of Mississippi. Allow us to run the state as we see fit. Don't sit there in Washington and tell us this is how it should go. Well, we can turn around and say the same thing. Stop sitting here in Jackson and pretending that you know better than the citizens of the communities in which we represent. Allow the citizens the option to vote to help increase their own quality of life and where they live. I thank you again for coming. I'd like to introduce our Second Vice President, Mr. Jimmy Cochran.
Good morning. As mayor of the city of Kosciuszko, I was elected along with our aldermen to make decisions that affect our community every day. One of those decisions has a lot to do with financing and the things that we do. All we're asking with this is the option to be able to allow our citizens to vote on projects that we need to keep our city going, whether it's streets, water, sewer, or whatever. 90% of the people in Jackson said okay. All we want is for the citizens of Kosciuszko and all these others here with us today is that same option. Several years ago, well, last year at budget time, we looked at a small increase in millage. Our citizens said, live within your budget. Our answer was, we can do that. What would you like us to stop doing? Well, the one thing about it is we can't cut enough things to pave roads, to fix a failing sewer system, to fix water lines and other infrastructure problems. We can't cut enough to do that. We need the option to have that right. Now, we know the people here at this building don't like the word tax. We know it haunts them at election time. It haunts each one of us just as well. but we still have to stay afloat every day. We don't want them to look at this as a tax. We want this looked at as an option for our people to decide their futures. That's all we're asking for. At this time, I turn it over to MML President Tim Waldron.
Thank you. You know that we're great, and we work with the legislators, and they do a great job here in Mississippi. They work for what they think is the best for Mississippi, and then I know the ones that down in my area, they work very hard. So we're proud of the legislators that we have in Jackson. And we have a lot of things in common with our legislators. One of these things in common is that we understand, and the legislature understands, that the economic core of Mississippi lives in the cities and towns of Mississippi. The cities provide the economic lifeblood for the state by providing the economic climate and promoting job creation. And this goes along with a lot of things that we can all work together, but then we run and have a little divergent path with the legislature, and that's over sustainability. If you don't have sustainability, you can't grow. If you don't have sustainability, you can't have jobs. If you can't have sustainability, you have no economic development. That's the bottom line of everything that we do is economic development, and we've got to have the bottom line of sustainability, being able to do the things that are necessary in our city to bring the jobs and create more economic diversity for our citizens. You know, it makes you wonder sometimes if, you know, the legislature just don't like cities or municipalities. I noticed they are giving a tax-free thing to most everybody that asks right now. So that hurts them and it hurts us also. But it hurts the state more when you let items be purchased free with no tax. But anyway, we've want to stress again that we need sustainability of our cities, because as the cities grow, so does the state. As we advance and bring money into the coffers of the state looks a lot better. I also want to thank our great host of municipal leaders that are here today to support us and the MML. And they've joined us today, and they've driven a long distance to do so. I want you to know this concludes our rally, and please have a safe trip home.
CEDA stands for the Citizens for Economic Development Act. And the reason we call it that is it truly is an economic development bill we're asking for. There are cities all across this state with a variety of needs. Some of them need water pipes fixed, some sewer pipes, some roads. Some want to build a park system to attract residents to their town. These are all economic development projects, and if the citizens vote at 60% to fund those for things they want in their community, why in the world would the legislature not allow them to do that?
What kind of a competitive advantage would this give cities in Mississippi?
Well, in Mississippi, we are sometimes at an economic disadvantage. If we can create a quality community, and quality means a lot of different things to different cities. Some want a park system, some want great roads, some want to build industrial parks, but we all need those tools if we're going to recruit corporate headquarters and manufacturers. We've got the great workforce, but there's some other pieces we don't have. And a company is not going to locate in your town if they do not want to live there. And we need to build places that they want to live.
How many cities in Mississippi are supporting CEDA?
Most of the cities are supporting it, and over half of them have actually passed a board resolution in support of it. And really and truly, we are not asking the legislature to do anything about a tax. I know they're scared of that word. We are seriously asking them to do the most democratic thing they could do and give their citizens the ability to vote.
How would this work if it's passed? How would CEDA work?
Well, the way CEDA would work is a project would be identified by the board or by the citizens, placed on a ballot with a price tag. The citizens would vote on it. If 60% of the citizens want it, it passes. You collect the sales tax and pay it until the project is paid for. That number is defined on the front end. It doesn't grow. Once that project is paid for, that tax totally goes away. If the citizens want another project later, the whole process would have to start over.
What would this mean for a community like yours? What could you build?
In our community, we could build a multitude of things. I have $2 million worth of street projects I need to do tomorrow and only $300,000 to budget. We have sewer lines in the ground that are 80 years old, water lines that are just as old, and we are a fast-growing community. Businesses are coming to our town. We have to keep the infrastructure at a high quality to keep that going on.
All of the communities would take advantage of this CEDA bill because we strive yearly, daily, annually trying to increase our revenue, and this is one way that cities can increase their revenue, but it's still voted on by 60% of the citizens of your town. So, you know, everyone gets the choice of whether they want this in their city or not, but it would give us great revenue to be able to flourish as a town and as a community. And then that way we can bring economic development in, because when people come in to see a town, they want to see everyone thriving and all the businesses thriving and the city looking good. This is one way that we can make our city look good with that extra funding.
The issue that we have right now is that money from the federal government, which is running a $17 trillion debt, is getting smaller, the money they're sending back to the states. And that smaller amount of money is, of course, being divided over projects which are costing more and more money. So the competitive nature of this means that you really need to have your plan drawn up and ready to go by the time you submit it for federal funding. All of that has to come out of the city budget. Most cities now, and mine is one of them, don't have that available to them. So CEDA offers us the opportunity to 4-lane roads. It gives us a chance to build new roads. It gives us a chance to maintain infrastructure or build sewer systems. And these are dollars right now that we really don't have available to us out of our city budgets any longer. So it's very important.
I think the CEDA Act will allow the citizens of Okolona to make the determination as to whether or not they're willing to pay taxes, an extra tax, to get streets paved, to get sewer lines updated, and other quality of life issues.
Do the citizens of your city want this?
Yes, they want the opportunity to vote upon it.
To do projects that are very much needed in our city and allow us to get those things done in a timely basis as our citizens have asked us to do.
First of all, we can start fixing some streets and do some projects that hadn't had any fix on in about 35 years. The problem with in these communities, not only Corinth, but all the state of Mississippi, is that these budgets aren't enough to take care of the rapidly deteriorating conditions of roads, sewer, water that's in these communities. We have got to have some help.
What kind of a link is there to economic development?
Well, I'll tell you something. First of all, I'm selling investment. I'm going to ask you, just Cracker Barrel just got through investing in Corinth. First thing they said, the reason we invested, we see growth in Corinth, and we also see a leadership there that is trying to fix problems. It's major. You cannot talk about economic development without talking about fixing infrastructure.
It would also allow us to be able to do those things without applying for grants that normally takes a long time, or to sit and wait for some other kind of funding to come available. This would allow us to make those corrections and make those necessary improvements. You know, I just think it would be something that the citizens will enjoy, that, you know, that the towns would do these things, and they will have a say-so in where and how we spend those money that they vote on.
Cities are really sustainability and anything underground, all of our infrastructure is bad. You got places, any city you go to that still has terracotta lines on the sewer. So we need to fix those, and the people that live in the city don't need to furnish all the money for that, because probably 80% or more people in Mississippi work in the city, so why couldn't they help with the infrastructure? You know, it's just not American and against the Constitution not to allow a vote.
If they want to know more about CEDA, contact the Mississippi Municipal League, and also just contact your own legislators. They know about it. Tell them that you want the ability to vote.